We return again and again to Plano. Apples and honey to dinosaurs. We return again to classroom. We return.
Teachers.
We return. We return again and again to friends. Teachers. To rabbis. We return again to family, to we return again to love.
Shabbat Shalom, happy Rosh Hashanah.
Shalom from the Einhorn-Lasky family.
We miss seeing all of you in person, but we have found strength in connecting with BHS virtually, and now celebrating the high holidays with all of you, our BHS family.
We send you all warm wishes for a happy, healthy, and sweet new year.
L'Shana Tova.
Good evening, everyone. We wish you a happy and healthy new year. At another holiday, we say, next year in Jerusalem. But at this year, we say, next year, let us all be together.
Yeah, hi everybody, and Happy New Year to everyone. In this very, very odd period of time, we miss everybody, and we pray for getting together as soon as possible in the new year. So Happy New Year, everyone.
Shalom from the Schwartz family. We wish we were all together celebrating in person, but we just wanted to wish everybody a happy, healthy New Year. Shana Tova.
Happy New Year.
Welcome. Good Yontif, Tzom Kal, a meaningful fast. Although our mode of gathering and communal worship continues to be a bit different and unexpected, and perhaps a slight bit daunting, at least at first, it is, we hope, also becoming a bit more familiar. Last week, we celebrated the beginning of a new year, 5781. We sounded the shofar, a spiritual wake-up clock of our people. Today, we continue our process of Heshbon HaNefesh, of personal inventory and assessment, as we look back upon our deeds and we invoke the divine as a loving and forgiving parent. We know it is probably a little extra challenging to be fasting during a pandemic, when most of us are at our homes, only a few feet away from our kitchens, our pantries, our refrigerators. So we can only do our best. And remember, if you are ill or nursing, you shouldn't be fasting it anyways. This is the season of acknowledging our imperfections, and without a doubt, This service broadcast, combining live and recorded video, will be somewhat imperfect. Please be patient. Please be forgiving. That is, after all, the theme of this season. What we lack in polish and expertise, we hope to make up for with sincerity and honest effort. As previously, we will be screen sharing our prayer text, but you can also download the PDF to your device from the chat box. We won't be calling out page numbers because there aren't any. Rather, the PDF slides will be shared on your screen, except when a recorded video is playing. As always, we encourage you to please join with us, reading along in the English and singing along in the Hebrew, which is also transliterated on our slides. Unlike a regular Zoom meeting, our Zoom webinar is only a one-way on video, which allows you to see and hear us, but affords you an extra level of privacy. But feel free to kibitz and chit-chat, or really just chat, with the chat function. We love feeling your energy and your presence through that venue. If you are having any technical challenges, you may call the regular BHS phone number, 718-522-2070, or email office@bhsbrooklyn.org, and someone will be there to help you. Shana Tova, wishing you a meaningful next 24-25 hours, and hope that you have an easy and meaningful fast.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness on this atonement night. We give thanks for love.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shalom HaKippurim.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
As the cantor opens the doors now, upon the ark we rise as we join in the responsive reading. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidre, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling. We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we fail to keep. We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God and Torah. We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community in this hour of shared weakness and humility. We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding. We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly. We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might. We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world. We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life. We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre to face our humanity.
צדיק ולאיש ללב שמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק 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 ולאיש ללב שמחה.
With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly.
Kol Nidre ve'esareh v'charameh ve'konameh ve'chinuyeh ve'kinuseh u'shevu מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כולכן יחרדנה והון כולכן יהון שרן שביתין שביתין בתהילים ומבוטלים לשרירין ולקיימים נדרנה לנדרה ואסרנה לאסרה ושבועתנה לשבועות.
We join in the next slide in the English of Kol Nidre. Together, let all our vows and oaths, all the promises we make and the obligations we incur to you, O God, from this day of atonement until next day of atonement, let it find us well. Be null and void should we, after honest effort, find ourselves unable to fulfill them, then may we be absolved of them. Let them all be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. Let them be neither valid nor binding. We regret them, and for all of them, we repent.
All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel, and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked.
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי
Please be seated, everyone.
Blessed are you, Adonai, Your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk, as your wisdom opens the gates of night. Your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars, arrayed across the sky, reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception. Living eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכננו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, בשבנותם לבניך ודיברתם בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים לחיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
For every exile who walked out of Egypt between walls of water, for everyone who remembered the feel of sea bottom underfoot, the sibilant roar of water rearing on the right, on the left, Someone forgot. Someone scanning the dry horizon for a well, or already mourning the musky smell of autumn in her father's fig trees. Forgot the hosannas and, by the bitter waves of Mara, forgot the flash of dancing feet, the shimmer of timbrels.
For every proselyte at Sinai, someone never heard of horns at all. Someone turned back from the mountain to bank the fire, feed the baby, steal a secret moment with another. Revelation begins in attention. While the elders trembled before the word of God flowing down the scorched north flank of Sinai, someone, rising from a last long embrace, gazed into the rapt face of the beloved and saw that it was good.
When fears multiply and danger threatens, when sickness comes, when death confronts us, it is God's blessing of shalom that sustains us and upholds us, lightening our burden, dispelling our worry, restoring our strength, renewing our hope, reviving us.
Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield, make us stronger than the enemies we face. Illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our heart, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings. For you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us, that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem.
For on this day atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai. We rise now as we face the ark and join with the cantor in the tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevii Geula Livnei B'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava. Zochreinu lechaim, Melech hafetz b'chaim, v'chodbeinu b'sefer ha'chaim, le'ma'anecha Elohim chayim. Magen Abraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Amen. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, morid hatal. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech naflim rovechonim, umatir asurim. Omekayim emunato lishenei afar. Michamach hagal geburot, umidom לעשות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך הוא ברוך שמו, מחיי הכל. אמן. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך הוא ברוך שמו, המלך הקדוש. אמן. ובכן, ובכן.
We continue now silently and at our own pace through the liturgy until coming to the final prayer for peace, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon L'chol ha-shalom v'tov b'neinecha livarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום, ברכה ושלום ופרסה טובה, ברכה ושלום נזכר ונתכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לדרכים טובים ושלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
We take a moment now for our own silent prayer and meditation.
Elohai Nitzor Lishonime Ra Ufastan Midi Bear Mirma Dilam Kalalai Nafshiki Venafshiki Afar La Kol Yihi Elohai Elohai
Elohai Nitzor Lishonime Ra Ufastan Midi Bear Mirma
Dilam Kalalai Nafshiki Venafshiki Afar La Kol Yihi Elohai 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 Nitzor Lishonime Ra Ufastan Midi Bear Mirma Dilam Kalalai Nafshiki Venafshiki Afar La Kol Yihi Elohai Elohai
Good Yontif, Tzom Kal, a meaningful fast. For those born and raised in the 2 decades immediately following World War II, We often think of our American democracy as robust and resilient, especially in comparison with those other forms of governance, which are often opposed from above by strongmen upon the populace. Whether fleeting or long-lasting, no other experiment in government has so effectively succeeded in its commitment to the participation of its populace. Churchill wrote, "Many forms of government have been tried and will be tried in this world of sin and woe. No one pretends that democracy is perfect or all-wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time." And yet, even with evidence of the continuing and enduring success of our republic's 2.5-century experiment in democracy, we know that our nation, like any organic body, can be as fragile and delicate as it is simultaneously muscular and bony. And for many of us of a particular age and older, the aging of a body comes with a recognition of limitations, the slowing down of healing, and even a level of psychological disillusionment. Perhaps that is why, as I get older, I take more and more comfort in the early morning prayers offered just upon rising, where Jews recite some variation or version of the traditional Asher Yatzar prayer, which reads, "God who designed human beings with wisdom and fashioned within us the vast varieties of hollows and orifices, how obvious and apparent it is that if even one of them were to open or close incorrectly, that it would be impossible for a human being to continue to stand before you for even a single hour. Blessed are you, Adonai, physician of all flesh, who performs wonders." Rather than a prayer recited in response to illness, such as the refuah healing prayer that we are accustomed to singing, this early morning Asher Yatzar prayer is a daily acknowledgement and reminder not to take for granted our body's miraculous functioning and homeostasis. It proclaims that our bodies are quite literally functioning miracles that give evidence of their creator. That is not to say, however, that they have been created, that having been created and fashioned in the divine image, that the human body is either perfect or indestructible. No. No long-running system, organic or otherwise, can endure a century or centuries, at least not without constant attention and maintenance. Elements are misused and abused, however unintentionally. Parts wear out, and in general, we start to get sloppy or inattentive to the increasing need for ongoing, regular maintenance. To further complicate matters, our bodies often appear complicit, along with our minds and spirits, making choices, actively or passively, consciously or unconsciously, intentionally or inadvertently, choices that induce grief and have long-lasting repercussions. And as self-proclaimed masters of our own bodies, it is amazing the number of excuses we make for their harmful actions and impact, as if our bodies literally had a mind of their own, separate from our intellect and spirit. The body and its well-being is not only a daily focus of Jewish tradition, but also, especially at this season, our bodies are the literal, metaphysical, and metaphorical focus of our Yom Kippur liturgy. The traditional lists of sins that will be enumerated shortly in the Al-Chet prayers, known formally as Vidui Rabbah, the chest-beating grand confessions, are built around acts of commission and some of omission by various body parts. Although our modern machzorim, our high holiday prayer books, gloss over this literalness to create a more modern and broader list, Here's a short sampling of the al-Chetz translated very literally from the Hebrew. For the sin we have committed by revealing our private body parts, by hardening our hearts, by the expressions on our lips, by the words of our mouths, by the thoughts of our hearts, by the grasping of our hands, by the impurity from our lips, by the foolishness that comes out of our mouths, by the evil of our tongue, by our eating and drinking, by the stretching up of our necks, by the conversation of our lips, by the lying of our eyes, by the raising of our gaze above others, by the insolence of our foreheads, by the stiffening of our necks, and by the running of our legs to do evil. Here then is a list of the multitude of ways in which we use our bodies and body parts to commit wrong after wrong, even though we know and affirm, as in the Genesis creation narrative, that our human body was designed by God, who declared it good. Bodies that were fashioned to do good so that we could serve as God's partners in the world. And yet we continue, even in our high holiday liturgy, to blame our various limbs for the choices that we make, as if those limbs were separate from the totality of our being and not part of the gestalt of our creation. Rabbi Isaac Luria, the 16th century Kabbalist, observed that the confession prayers are written in the plural, al chet shechatanu, for the sin that we have sinned. Because, he says, all Israel is considered as a single body, and every person is a limb within that body. So we confess to all the sins of all the parts of our body, not just our part. Those sins are expressed in the plural, not simply to avoid embarrassing individual perpetrators, but in order that the congregation might effectuate the atonement and bring about a change in behavior of the entire community, a change in what we would call the body politic. This year, we couldn't be blamed for adding in some new al-Chetz for our body politic behaviors. For example, the sin we have committed by sticking our fingers in our ears so we don't have to listen, by burying our heads in the ground so as not to be troubled by the world around us, by squeezing our eyelids shut to avoid the scary scenes, and I don't mean at the movies, by humming so loudly with our throats and tongues that we can't hear others, by using our hands and feet to close off our senses from the world around us. Or perhaps this set, the sin we have committed by stamping our feet in frustration rather than using them to carry us nobly forward toward justice, by our mouths screaming out primal screams rather than offering intelligible words and ideas and solutions, by our tongues over-talking and denying our ears the space and ability to listen to others, by pulling the hair out of our heads rather than making the effort to assert our own self-control. In Jewish tradition, confession is not made by the individual separately in a singular private voice. Rather, it is made collectively and in the plural, as we ask for God's forgiveness for the failings of each and every member and the community, the nation of the people of Israel as a whole. This practice that each individual look beyond themselves and undertake a broader and deeper assessment of what ails us as a people. That process, referred to in Hebrew as cheshbon hanefesh, is also body-focused, usually translated as spiritual audit or inventory of the soul. It could also be translated as an assay of the being or an assessment of the person. That biblical Hebrew word nefesh refers to the physical human body and might best be translated as living being. Cheshbon HaNefesh then is not only personal and spiritual, but as Rabbi Luria taught, it is also collective and physical. And so this year, we are called upon to undertake a cheshbon hanefesh unlike any other, to start, as always, with our own inner life, but then to expand our assessment to our exterior lives and actions, and indeed to our communal, and finally to our national being and behaviors, to our body politic. We are asked to assess what will it take to maintain the integrity of this body, of this nation. I use that word integrity in both of its meanings. What actions or evasions have we taken in the past year? And what actions must we take or avoid in this coming year to ensure the physical integrity, the integral functioning of our republic's body? But I also mean integrity in its sense of honesty and conscience, the belief and assertion that our deeds must be honest and compassionate and considerate of others. That we seek not merely to maintain our own individual privilege and our own individual safety and well-being, but also our integrity means that our actions demonstrate a recognition that for the national body to survive, to persevere, to succeed, we must be equally committed to the well-being and functioning of all the seemingly disparate parts. And more than that, we must be committed to work in concert with all the other limbs and organs that make up our nation. If we cannot do this as a nation, we will end up emulating some of the self-destructive tendencies evidenced in our own physical human bodies. This year, amid the novel coronavirus outbreak and the diagnosis of COVID-19, we learned a new medical term, cytokine storm. Although it is far more specific, detailed, and technical in actuality, it is one version of what happens when our bodies malfunction, when they over-respond without limit, mistaking organs and limbs as foreign invaders and enemies, when our body engages in a civil war to purge or destroy the very organs that we need to endure and function as a whole. Unlike modern medicine, there is no silver bullet, no vaccine, no antibiotic, no antiviral being developed by big pharma that will shut down the current storm within our body politic. Rather, it will require the choice by every member, every limb and every organ, every hollow and every orifice, every vessel and every inner chamber, every nerve, every fiber of muscle, every party, every faith, every state, to preserve this body politic, this democratic republic, this 2.5 century experiment in liberty and justice for all. We are called upon in this new year of 5,781 to use and utilize and realign our body parts, our nation's eyes and ears, hands and legs, mouth and mind, to find a way to work in concert and to return to homeostasis. I do not know, I cannot tell you how the specifics will work, but I do know that letting our bodies and body parts sit out on the sidelines will not avail us. So this year, as members of the Jewish community and as citizens and residents of these great United States of America, let us resolve to find a way to reunite this great body politic by listening attentively with our ears to those with whom we disagree, by bravely raising our heads to see the troubled world around us, by courageously opening our eyes in order to witness what must be changed, by more frequently silencing our own voices so that we can hear the voice of others, by using our hands to engage and be the change in the world around us, by nobly striding forward with our feet toward justice, by shaping and sounding intelligible words and ideas and solutions with our tongues and our fingers, and finally, by asserting our own self-control over our own bodies, our own behaviors, and not just as individuals, but as a nation, by seeking common ground, a united state of being, e pluribus unum. Good Yontif and a meaningful fast. Thank you.
Yasher Koach.
As the cantor opens the ark, we rise now and remain standing as we are able for the vidui, for the confessional prayers.
Eloheinu, v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, tavo lefanecha, tefilateinu, ve'al titalam mitchinatenu. Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu tzadikim anachnu v'lo chatanu aval
Let's read together. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Dibarnu dofi, ay da 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 ya da 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 da. Hevinu, vehirshanu, zadnu, chamasnu. Tafanu sheker, ay da 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 ya da 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 da. Yatznura, kizavnu, Latznu, Latznu, Maradnu, Maradnu, Niatznu, Niatznu, Sararnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Avinu, Pashanu, Pashanu, Tsararnu, Tsararnu, Kishinu Orev, Kishinu Orev, Ay da 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 da, ya da 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 da, Rashanu, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Tainu, Titaru, Titaru, ay da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ay da 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 da.
Together, our turning away from your mitzvot and laws of goodness is a hollow pursuit. You are just concerning all that happens in our lives. Your way is the way of truth, while ours leads to error. What can we say to you whose existence is beyond time and space? What words of ours can reach your realm beyond the clouds, beyond heaven itself? Every hidden mystery, every revelation, surely you know them all. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human heart. You know and understand us, for you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs, pardon us for every act of injustice. Help us atone for all our moral failures.
For these sins, our God, we ask forgiveness. Al chit shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. The ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and the harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech, the ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. For all these failures of judgment and will, God, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. As the cantor closes the ark, we're invited to be seated.
Let our pounding on the gates of mercy thunder on high as darkness falls. And with dawn, let the joy of renewal arrive. The day holds the urgency of our prayers, confessions of the heart, lamentations of the soul, till evening comes. May our yearnings rise above the shadows of dusk. May the searching of our souls reach you in the morning. All day our praise is before you. May it be acceptable, may it be received, till evening comes.
וקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון את
Together, God of forgiveness, we come before you in need of compassion. At Sinai, you spoke words that guide our lives to this day, but our ancestors lost faith in you, lost hope in their Redeemer. With one voice, they had promised, we will do and obey, and yet, stiff-necked, they broke their word, adoring an idol of gold. How wondrous your compassion in the face of their rebellion, your forgiveness in that moment of human weakness and doubt. We too have broken promises to you. We too worship the work of our own hands. We too make of gold a god. We too forsake your word. At Sinai, you revealed your attributes of mercy, these aspects of your nature, your very essence, which we now recall.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, Berav Chesed v'Emet, Notzeh Chesed l'Alafim, Noseh Avon v'Fesha, V'Chata v'Nah.
Adonai, Adonai, God, compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to the 1000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. Our God and God of our fathers, God of our mothers, do not abandon us, leaving us in shame. Do not dissolve the covenant you made with us. Rather, draw us near to your teaching. Show us your ways and teach us how to live. Let us be open to your love, ready to revere your very being. Cut away the hardness of our hearts so that we may turn to you with all our heart's devotion, truly repentant. For the sake of your great name, pardon our failures, forgive our moral weakness, as in the holy words of your psalmist. Adonai, as befits your name, forgive my sin, no matter how great.
כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו כהניך ואתה חלקנו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צונך ואתה רוענו, אנו חרמך ואתה נותרנו, אנו פעולתך ואתה יוצרנו, אנו רעייתך ואתה דודנו, אנו סגולתך ואתה קרובנו, אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו ממירך ואתה מאמירנו.
As the cantor opens the doors on the ark, we rise to join in together in Avinu Malkeinu, a prayer of protest. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Some of us have cancer. Some have lost strength of body. Some have lost memory and speech. Some of us are in pain. Some can't find work. Some of us bear the marks of human cruelty, inside where the scars don't show. Some live with depression. Some battle addiction. Many feel alone. Some have known shattered marriages, trust betrayed, hopes destroyed. Some of us have lost the ones we love far too soon, and some have lost a child. All of us have seen suffering in our midst. All of us know the ravages of war for which there are no words. Avinu Malkeinu, why? Avinu Malkeinu, are you there? Do you care? Avinu Malkeinu, hear our pain, hear our anger, hear our grief. Avinu Malkeinu, here is our prayer. Give us the strength to go on. Give us reasons to get up each day. Give us purpose and persistence. Help us to fend off fear and to hold on to hope. Help us to be kind. Don't make us bow or grovel for your favor. Grant us dignity and give us courage. Avinu Malkeinu, show us the way to a year of goodness. Renew our belief that the world can be better. Restore our faith in life. Restore our faith in you.
We read together, Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Amol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu, ve'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu,
Let me invite you to take a seat. It is my pleasure and honor to call upon our member, Mark Katz, who will be delivering this year's annual appeal.
Stop me if you know this old rabbinic joke. A Jew is shipwrecked and stranded alone on a desert island. On the first day, he builds 2 synagogues. one to pray in and one he would not step foot in. Funny, yes. Prophetic, no. Because it fails to anticipate our current circumstance, the concept of a third synagogue, the one you cannot step into. That's where I am right now, kinda, as are we all. Together we are trying to solve some kind of Talmudic riddle. In the age of COVID, how can we be a synagogue when we can hardly even be a minyan? Good Yom Tov, my fellow BHS members. My name is Mark Katz, and in these unusual times, I've been asked to deliver an unorthodox annual appeal, unlike our usual one, delivered from the pulpit of a church. That's not weird at all. My family has been members of BHS since we moved to Brooklyn in 2007 as part of the great 21st century diaspora, returning to the borough our forebears fled. Since then, we've made it a focal point of our lives, and along the way, we've met many thoughtful and engaging people and made some wonderful friends. But if my face only looks vaguely familiar to you, you are more likely to know the voice of my wife, Jennifer Zaslow. Jenny sings with the choir and, at High Holy Day services, can be heard in various trios, duos, and solos, and once again this year, a Haftorah to boot. And if you don't know Jenny, maybe you have a child who knows our son, Elias. Elias is a proud graduate of the BHS preschool. Tov Ma'od cum laude, he graduated, and is now in the 6th grade of our Hebrew school. Just recently, our thoughts have turned to his bar mitzvah almost exactly 2 years away. Oh my God. Between now and then, he will continue his religious education at BHS and, God willing, will return to Eisner, the URJ summer camp premised in Living Judaism, where I also once spent 10 formative summers. Oh yeah, me. Who am I? And why did Rabbi Lipp ask me to deliver this annual appeal? Oh, I was hoping you knew. Well, here's what I remember from Serge's call. He reminded me of my occupation. I am a writer who writes speeches for leaders and other public people. I am also a board-certified humor writer. As you have already determined, I am uproariously funny. Often I combine these skills to create presentations that are delivered to critical audiences at a crucial time in an unconventional way. And according to Serge, that is exactly where we are and what is needed. Desperate times indeed. Which brings me back to that opening joke, because today I'd like to talk to you about that synagogue we currently can't step foot in, this one right here. So much has changed since last Kol Nidre. When we asked God to inscribe us for another year in the book of life, no one fully explained what that life might look like. Things were going just fine right up until about Purim, but now we are 6 months into this end-of-days scenario, and as of yet, no Messiah has arrived. In these past 6 months, the BHS we've always known has dramatically altered. And although the reasons are regrettable, the transformation has been remarkable. Today, through the magic of high-speed internet, our Shabbat and these High Holy Day services are live streamed directly into your home. And in the process, our entire clergy has turned into a team of televangelists. Our Hebrew school has also migrated to online learning. By the way, I don't know who came up with the name homeschooling, but that person deserves a raise. Even our real-life events have made the leap to virtual. From brises to shivas, bar mitzvahs, and weddings, we still congregate virtually as a community to celebrate simchas and to share our tears of joy and sadness. By the way, if you haven't figured it out yet, the trick is to bring your own babka. These solutions are imperfect, but invaluable just the same. But we've also been up against obstacles for which there are no known workarounds. As it has been to so many families, this cruel virus has been unkind to the finances of our synagogue. The bottom line on our bottom line is that our revenue has taken a pretty serious hit. For some, this may seem counterintuitive. Why would it cost more to operate a synagogue we utilize far less? I mean, just think of what we are saving in wine, challah, and stolen yarmulkes alone. But that's not how it works, or at least according to how it was explained to me a couple of times. Here are some of the numbers that measure the impact of this pandemic on our annual budget. Our 515 families have now been reduced to around 490. So let's start with the deficit in our annual membership dues. The enrollment at our preschool dropped from 100 to 80, which can also be measured in the $300,000 in lost tuition. Of course, our biggest expense by far is our staff. The salaries and benefits of our clergy, administrators, and educators comprise 70% of our budget. And while we were forced to cut back on those who work part-time or on subcontract, the synagogue has not laid off any of its full-time staff. Maybe that's not what a McKinsey consultant would have told us to do, but our Jewish values did. But numbers alone can't tell this story. In the past few weeks, I've sat at least 6 feet away from BHS leaders who've told me how the disrupted lives of our members affect the operation of our synagogue, and conversely, how our synagogue tends to these members in distress. Many of these stories begin the same way, with a text or email from a congregant to Serge or Sue Gold, our executive director, that reads, "Please call," or "We need to talk." Some are calling to say that, for reasons beyond their control, they are moving away and sadly leaving BHS as well. Other calls are even tougher than that. These uncomfortable conversations almost always involve a furloughed job, lost income, the fear or fact of illness, and the impossible choice of a merciless cash crunch. These are members upended by chaos who can no longer afford to pay all or some of their dues. But more often than not, conversations that start with a member saying, "I can no longer afford to belong to BHS," end like this, with a leader saying, "You are not going anywhere. We can make this work." Hearing those stories make me proud to be a member of BHS, because it is the strength of our congregation that allows Serge or Molly or Sue to respond with such kindness. That is all of us saying to a fellow congregant, "You will continue to be part of our Jewish community," that your child still has a place in our Hebrew school and will remain on a path to become a bar or bar mitzvah on our bima, that your teenager can continue in Hebrew high school, learning how to see the world through a Jewish lens and putting their Jewish values to work by way of Bugsy, that if you are older and live alone, you will still be connected to our BHS family, and if needed, receive acts of kindness and care from our dedicated Chesed team. And so with that response, our BHS leaders have circled the square of this Talmudic riddle. How can we be a synagogue when we can hardly even be a minyan? The answer is that our synagogue is not a building. It is a community. There, conundrum solved. Over the course of decades, our congregation has made this community strong, and on this Kol Nidre, we must commit to keeping it strong. As members and as donors, many of you have contributed to BHS for many years. Thank you. But to be clear, our finances rely on much more than membership dues alone. The all but unspoken arrangement of our membership dues is only spoken once a year, and that's in this annual appeal. So listen up. Yes, every member pays annual dues, but those dues do not add up to the cost of running BHS. Not even close. Instead, they are intentionally kept as low as possible, so every member can contribute to our costs. The day-to-day costs of running our synagogue are something we share, but not necessarily in equal measure. Our financial model requires those who can pay more to pay more. That's not me talking, that's math. So let's return once more to the numbers. Our current budget gap of $290,000 is also this year's fundraising goal. That's about $100,000 more than we've needed to raise in previous years. But as we know, this is anything but an ordinary year. Now, some good news, finally. This ambitious goal kicks off with a promising start. I am pleased to announce that a circle of congregants has already stepped forward with a pledge to match the first $90,000 in new dollars we raise. Let me explain. If last year you donated $1,800 to this annual appeal, and this year you donate $3,600, that additional $1,800 will be matched by this grant, effectively making your gift equal $5,400. Someone please check my math on that. Don't thank me, thank those generous donors, and you know how, by making them pay up. Before I go, let's revisit that Jew on the island who built a whole extra synagogue just to make himself laugh. We are not that guy. Our generation of Brooklyn Heights Jews is not the one who built the synagogue in 1959. Instead, we are the congregants whose responsibility it is to maintain the synagogue that in turn sustains our community. And in this moment of peril, we've been handed an additional duty: to see BHS safely to the other side of a catastrophic event. In this new year, we can be the Jews on the island who rebuild the synagogue and the community it serves, better and stronger than before. And if all goes well, if our prayers are answered, we can all reunite soon, not just virtually and spiritually, but physically, right here in our beloved synagogue, filling the seats in our sanctuary, the chairs in our classrooms, and the beds in our shelter once again. So, from my family to yours, L'Shana Tova, a year of rebuilding, and let it start with the commitment you make today in the lunar year 5781 and the fiscal year 2020. And as they say in no other shul but BHS, next year in Plymouth Church. In the meantime, good Yom Tov, a meaningful Yom Kippur, and an easy fast to us all. Thank you and good night.
I thank you for my life, body and soul.
We rise now as the cantor opens the ark for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשי, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And I'll invite, if you'd like to have a seat for a few moments, please join with me on the next slide. May the time not be distant, our God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all, created in your image, become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days, and those who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. At this time, we think of the recent passings of Larry Kozlov, remembered by Rita Schwartz. Anita Giordano, remembered by Rhonda and Meredith Epstein. Paulette First, remembered by Mark First, Margie, and Ben and Sarah. Betty Marilyn Bellis, remembered by Wendy Bellis, mother-in-law of Gary Dolan and grandmother of Julia and Trevor. Martin Horowitz, remembered by Dan Horowitz, Sherry Hyman, and great uncle to Rebecca and Ari. Howard Salwin, remembered by Andrea Coppell, father-in-law of Ed Coppell and grandfather of Ruby. Arthur Melmid, father of Lisa Melmid Cohen, father-in-law of Stephen Cohen, and grandfather of Madeline, Ethan, and Elias. And Meyer, Mike Schneiderman, remembered by Rabbi Serge Lipp, Deb Spire, Michael, Alex, and Rissa Lipp. We also now call to mind those whose anniversary it is of their passing. Roseanne Ryman, remembered by Warren Ryman. Lawrence List, remembered by Molly List and Bobby List. Carl Kaminsky, remembered by Michelle Kaminsky. Stephen Gilder, remembered by Barbara Zimmerman. Coleman Zagnut, remembered by Stuart Zagnut. Jonathan Gradis, remembered by Jennifer Wilkov. Lee Feldman, remembered by Linda Feldman. Carol Katz, remembered by Renee Fishzone. Richard Cash, remembered by Lauren Smetana. Diane Linetsky, remembered by Mark Linetsky. Lucille Corin, remembered by Stephen Corin. Anna Gershman Wilder, remembered by Dahlia Radley Kingsley. Adele Nellis, remembered by Sharon Nellis. Florence Stupnick, remembered by Nina Epstein. Frances Shapiro, remembered by Laura Shapiro. Susan Hillsberg Horowitz, remembered by Jennifer Wilkov. Grace Cooper, remembered by Gregory Cooper. Stuart Pierce, remembered by Marjorie First. Barbara Pierce, remembered by Marjorie First. Matthew Goldberg, remembered by Barbara Zimmerman. Ruth X, remembered by Jackie Leopold. Teresa Miller McQuillan, remembered by Michael McQuillan. Ron Wallen, remembered by Joyce Raskin. David Weiner, remembered by Helene Furman Gold. Leo Taft, remembered by Rabbi Serge Lip. Jesse Inns, remembered by Steve Brown Inns and Richard Inns. Ethel Sussman, remembered by Dan Haft. Dr. John Bernard Zaunce, remembered by Hillary Ackerman. Phyllis Akers, remembered by Andrew Ankers and Jennifer Wilkov. Irina Teleparovsky, remembered by Alexandra Bergansky. Yvette Marcus Friedman Cohen, remembered by Terry Haas. Lawrence Nowak, remembered by Joel Nowak. Anna Brody, remembered by Karen Brody. Ida Bernstein, remembered by Taryn Turner. Hamilton Hertz, remembered by Michelle Levine. Erwin David Whitty, remembered by Joanne Whitty. And Eric Stiefel, remembered by Karen Stiefel. If I mispronounced a name and you wish to type it again in the chat so we can see it again, I invite you to do so now. And if there are other names of people who you are remembering on this Kol Nidre, please do put their names into the chat so we can hold their names in our hearts. I'll invite everybody to please rise as we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela ul'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
V'imru amen.
אדון עולם השם מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארם, והוא יהיה בתפארם, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשירו להכבירה, בלי ראשי, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא עיני וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בצערם, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת תישן בעירה, ואם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
Good Yantif, everyone. A reminder that the link that you used for this evening's service is the same link that you should use for tomorrow morning's service. We'll gather back together for the main service at 10:30 a.m. with the same link. If you are looking for the other programming that we'll be offering throughout the day, I believe that Leanne has just posted all of the times in the chat below. And please do refer to the email that we sent out today. That also lists the programming and the links that you'll need to get to those programs. Good Yantif, easy fast, a peaceful evening.